Happy New Year to everyone, and I hope your new year has started off well. Tonight, in the pre-council, we'll look at several things that we will be making votes on tonight. We will have a public hearing, which is looking at a rezoning issue. This issue has already gone through the Planning and Zoning Commission, and their recommendation is already here. We do have Mr. Gerald's here tonight to answer any questions regarding that. Is there anything from anyone in pre-council that they might want to ask Mr. Gerald's at this point? It was a fairly simple thing. Why don't you just explain it real quickly so we'll have that.
Brief description. Yeah, this actually is a father and son who live next door to each other. It's some of the annexation we got in East Jefferson, and the property is zoned A1. And the father is having to give the son some additional property, so they make an addition to the house, which constituted a resurvey subdivision. And our A1 zoning requires a minimum of a 3-acre lot, and neither one of them were. So I told them what we need to do, just to clear it up, so there's no problem in the future, is to file for R1 zoning, and so there's no problem with the size of the lots or anything. And we, because they'd already taken out mortgage money to build the addition, we've already taken it to planning and zoning for the final plat approval, and made it subject to final rezoning by the city council.
It's basically a housekeeping issue, and there was no one at the meeting other than the individuals that were petitioning, and that was it. So no question about that. We do have an unfinished item looking at the dog park issue. I guess the question there, we have it on the agenda to keep it in front like Councilor Bearden requested, but have we set up a time that we're going to have Parks and Recreation meet to start discussing the issue and see if there's any additional recommendations?
Thank you, James. John has a amendment he'd like to add to that. You want to, John?
Yeah, we're just discussing and listening to what the people last council meeting talked about and come to conclusion. I think the park committee we're discussing the park committee. We're discussing tonight. They mentioned Eller Park being a permanent solution instead of patching it. Beacon can be a patchwork, baseball park can be a patchwork, but I think the park committee decided that the Eller would be the best place for permanent dog park.
When did the park committee meet?
Well, I think the discussion that we had on the last council meeting, all agreed that that was our decision.
So the group, the three people that constitute that committee have met and made their decision after a meeting with the public like we discussed?
We haven't met, but I think on the last discussion we had at the last council meeting, I think the conclusion that we all agreed that that could happen.
But part of that discussion was to get with the public and make sure before we brought anything forward.
The public spoke that night.
A small representation of the public.
How many people do you think we're gonna get? We haven't. We still not really the same people. We're really the same.
So I would assume proper procedure would be to take this off of unfinished business by doing what?
The proper procedure is to amend it and then go from there.
Amended to vote for it
Yeah,
with the amendment.
that's what the council wants to do. It's not.
Okay, so that would be something that would be done at the time of the approval of the agenda.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah. It
All
could.
right. The number one item under new business, we discussed that when we approved the monies for the sidewalk improvements. We knew this would be coming back to us. Were there any additional questions on that? We knew that was coming back.
My only question is, are we actually going to get some sidewalks put down this time? Because this will be the fourth time, and I can remember that we voted to spend money on this and we still don't have sidewalks.
Well, I understand that construction, I don't have the dates in front of me, but the construction will be starting very, very soon on it.
Related to weather.
Yeah, I mean, the sidewalks are going in with the money that we approved last meeting. This is simply because those sidewalks have to be inspected.
And we told you all that at the last meeting.
And City Clerk, would you remind us where this funding is coming from?
It'll be funded out of the capital fund.
So I got one question. Is that the cheapest we can get this done? I mean, at $6,000 to $8,000. I understand saying they're our engineers, But that's the cheapest we can get that done?
It's 80% how,
So that's,
What is our 20? I couldn't remember the amount.
14 and some change.
Okay.
about
20 was
2014
14.
change.
Okay. 14.
The actual bid for the sidewalks came in under what was
Correct.
originally proposed.
Right. I remember that. I just want to know what was our 20.
Yeah.
14,000.
Before it went down to what, 68?
It's 13.6.
Okay.
Okay.
any other questions on that particular item? The next one is the resolution to reconstitute the Industrial Development Board. We have a project pending, or I guess what we might call the endpoint of a project related to Motion Industries. This would be possibly 1 or 2 meetings to get that issue resolved. And basically, once it's reconstituted, if you notice how the resolution is written, there will be a division of 2, 4, and 6-year terms. That could actually be decided by the committee itself unless we have some strong feelings about assigning those different times. I do have one comment. Jesse Rayford has contacted me. He will be moving out of the area. We can't have someone outside the area. He's willing to serve to get us through this issue. And like he said, if it becomes an issue in the future, he can resign his position and be replaced. But he definitely would be one person for a 2-year term. But again, if we don't have a problem with letting them have their meeting and decide based on their needs and what they can do, who would serve in that capacity. And we may not use the Industrial Development Board again in 6 years, we just don't know. But it would be in place if we need it. Any questions on that?
My question, how do we decide on the 2, 4, and 6-year terms?
So
I'll handle this.
That's required under state statute. So you have to break it up into those type terms, split it up evenly as much. You've got 7 members, so there's always going to be an odd man or an odd person in that particular scenario. But when they meet, they could easily decide those terms among themselves based on their ability to serve, if there's not a problem with that. We could randomly, I had one, I listed them alphabetically and said we could go down the alphabet, just assign them by alphabetical order, but I think if they do it that way, they would feel more comfortable with what they're capable of doing.
Are these individuals here? Are they here?
Some are here.
Some of the
Some are
names on
here.
here I'm not familiar with. Not saying I'm gonna know everybody in Irondale, but I'm just not familiar with these names. So, are they here?
I see maybe 1 or 2 in the audience.
Okay. What two? I know Ms. Frazier is
We're
here.
gonna stand up.
Can we get them to stand up? Yeah. Claude Perry, Jimmy Snyder, Susan Meadows, Matthew Lepore, Jesse Rayford.
I'd say 2
Oh.
standing right there.
Okay.
Let's do
Ms. Frazier, you'll stand up, please. Thank you.
Okay.
So those are only 2 we have present
Yeah.
here?
At this point.
Okay. All right.
And the next one we discussed when we discussed the basic public hearing, but that will be the actual ordinance to allow that rezoning. The next one is moving the date of the special election.
Did we,
First rescinding the.
Excuse me,
Go ahead,
excuse me.
sir.
did we ever decide whether we will, I don't want to use the word allow, decide whether or not they're going to do the 2, 4, 6-year term? They're going to decide upon that?
Yes,
The IDB themselves? Did we say that?
they can do that in their meeting. Because it probably would take at least 2 meetings, one to get organized, and depending on how fast they can operate. It's actually a very simple thing they've got to do. They've got to vote to allow the transfer of the property, of the deed itself.
correct.
There is no, the city has no obligation, it's all paid for. It's just a matter of changing the name on the deed to the property. But it has to be done by them because they initially set it up.
It was a bond issue that was, that the IGB had and has been paid off. And under the terms of the documents between the IGB and Motion Industries, the property was to be transferred to Motion Industries.
And Motion Industries made all the payments, so. Yes. The next 2 are related to the special referendum on the millage tax. which would allow the public the opportunity to vote. I will say that go ahead and please plan on your calendar for the next meeting on Monday, a work session at 5:30. We need to discuss what we would like to designate or let the public know we're designating for that funding. We don't need a plethora of items, remembering there will only be 2 years left in our terms, so we need to think of a 2-year period. What might be 2 or 3 things that would benefit the majority of the citizens of this community if this passes. The reason for changing the date is to give us more time to get the information out to the public and do some additional advertising that will be associated with that. Since currently the date for the election would be the 23rd of January, and we're nowhere ready as far as getting information out in general.
Did you say that work session was next Monday or?
The Monday before the next city council
Okay.
at 5:30, please. And again, we're not voting the tax, we're voting to allow the public to make a vote, and the amount of the tax is in line with the allowable amount by the state, and it will be the first tax increase in Irondale, we've heard anywhere from 20 to 30 years, if it passes. And this was reviewed by council and suggested that what we do is rescind the original resolution and then just basically use the same resolution wording to change the date to make the date change. So that's why it's a 2-step process. Any questions on that one?
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
So, let me make sure I understand. So, we're having a meeting next Monday, special week from Monday, to discuss or decide how this money is gonna be used, right?
To at least put out
To at least put out
what the
some-
purpose of the funding may be.
So, yeah, as far as talk about the purpose, as far as what I can come up with
Right.
as a council.
Right.
But tonight, we're voting to,
Change the date of the referendum vote.
hold on 1 second.
Okay.
All right, hold on. So tonight, we're voting to put this as a public referendum for the community. For them to decide, for the community to decide whether or not, we're gonna have a special election.
No, sir.
For the council.
That has been done. We are rescinding the one we did back in August, if I believe it was August? September, sorry.
September the 5th.
Yeah, so we're rescinding the one that we've already done that goes back in order to change the date, and that's all we're doing. We had already agreed to allow the referendum. We're just changing the date of the referendum.
Have we got a copy of the new resolution?
Well, James, refresh my memory as far as, I mean, did we voted back on this in September, you said? I'm just trying to catch up now.
Yes, September the
Catch up.
5th, it was resolution 2017-R-89. You can look at that, it's the same resolution that we would have tonight. The only thing we did was change the election date from January 23rd, 2018 to March 27th, 2018.
Because we passed the resolution that specified January, it was in our minds that we were gonna have more time to engage the public, so we're rescinding that because it was January and re-voting on it in order to kick it out a little bit further for public interaction.
We will have a town hall meeting, we would have more time to put it in I don't like to use the term water bill, it's actually garbage bill because not everybody gets a water bill, and get it on the website and then Facebook.
So the work session, just to entail us the ideals, that's not a meeting where the public's be involved with that night?
We have to have something to present to the public in order for them to actually make an informed decision on how to vote. There are several areas, since we can't meet without having a public meeting anyway. There are several things that probably would be a very good use of that money if the city wants to move forward. We could look at infrastructure such as road paving. We could look at the project at Ruffner Park. But we don't need a lot of things. We've only got a 2-year period to accomplish this. Remembering this money won't show up till I guess we'll actually get the money in 2019 if we get it.
No, it'd be October 2018.
They'll start, right? Yeah. So again, we'll only have 2 years of our term left to do anything with the money. We're talking about, after the county takes their share, about $800,000 to $900,000
Right.
if it passes.
So,
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I guess the question I have, we have the comprehensive plan, instead of us bringing ideas, can we use that? That's the Bible that the citizen put together for us to work on. Could we just use that as our guide, instead of all of us bringing some idea? It's already, the plan is there. The plan is already there, we just have to use it.
I think the comprehensive plan is there, John, but we can't have 50 things to put out on the table that we can accomplish in a 2-year period.
I understand what you're saying, what you're saying.
Where
us to
would
bring-
we best utilize the money over the next 2-year period to accomplish something if the tax passes?
You're speaking to the choir, but the comprehensive plan already spells that out for us. And that's something that we could use instead of us bringing stuff to the table.
I'm not asking you to bring things to the table, we just need to decide what we're going to prioritize.
So we need to go by the comprehensive plan. So
You
we're
need to
saying-
look at it if that's what, yes. It's obvious, there is definite references to infrastructure and road paving in that
That's
plan.
correct. It's in that plan.
There are things about parks and recreation, but we need to narrow it down to 2 or 3 items that we can at least give public informed information that that's where we're going to concentrate the money over the next 2-year period if the resolution passes.
Yeah, but again, the comprehensive plan's already broken that
Right.
down for
Right.
us to make a decision on.
But,
It's spelled out.
but
Exactly
again,
what it is.
look at it and see what you think out of that plan needs to be prioritized to present to the public. So you can specifically sit here and say it's going to be in these arenas.
Well,
The
I'm saying-
comprehensive plan covers a lot of areas.
What I'm saying, it's already been, people's already decided.
But they
Well,
have
again,
prioritized.
It's a
Well,
prioritization
it's
issue,
priority.
okay? That's what we're talking about.
Okay.
And you use it, that's not the problem, use the plan. But we've got to decide among a bunch of items, what 2 or 3 might be where we concentrate our efforts. Again, we have a short period of time. If the referendum passes, where can that money be best utilized? Before anybody votes, they want to know what the money is going to be for. Any additional questions on that?
Well, I just have a comment. My stance haven't changed. I still think we're putting the cart before the horse. Like I said before, it did pass earlier, but I think we should have discussed this first before we even put this resolution on here to call for a special election. But that's just my thought on it. But that was my statement. You know, that haven't changed.
I want to say the reason we approved the resolution was due to the timing of getting the
It was.
equipment so we could have it. So we
Yeah.
knew that we hadn't had an opportunity to discuss how the money was going to be used. We wanted to just go ahead and get the decision in place so that we could have the equipment, and we were anticipating having more time to engage. But I guess it just got here a little quicker, which is why we're trying to rescind this so that we can reapprove it in order to give us more time to talk to you guys about it. It's just, we had to get the equipment
It's a time
in order to get things in place.
And
And I do understand that, but we did have time. We could have called for several finance committee meetings. We could have called for numerous of, work sessions or whatever the case may be. I don't wanna be the dead horse, but we did have time. I understand that we had to put this on the agenda in order to get it on the referendum for the community to vote on it. But at the same time, I think we did have time to discuss these things before we even put it out to the community. That's all my take.
okay.
Just one more question. Is that one meeting gonna be enough? Or do we need to meet earlier before that council meeting? Do we need to schedule multiple meetings? before
Well,
that
since we
council
already
meeting?
say that there is a guideline out there, I think it's a matter of trying to prioritize 2 or 3 items on that guideline, and I'm not sure why that would take more than 1 meeting. If you feel like we need another one, you're welcome to ask for it, and we can see if we want to do one earlier in the prior week.
We talked about getting the public involved
Well, you've already said the public's been involved by
They
the
have.
comprehensive
I
plan.
think You disagree with me though, so that's where I'm going. You disagree.
This is where we have to buck up and make a decision where we feel like we can best serve our public. And
So
pick
we are,
items
so
on
we
that.
are making a decision. Yeah, so we're-
That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Yes.
That's way back 20 minutes ago, I asked that question.
But if you'd like to do one earlier, there's the, any day next week, or we can all do it that night. I'm at your pleasure on that. All I'm doing is setting up the meeting.
Just make sure we get up.
Just do that Monday night and see where we go. All right, thank you.
Council.
And City Clerk Stewart, I'd like you to make your comments on the numbering of ordinances and resolutions real quickly before we open for public comments.
All right, just doing some brushing up on the craft and reading through some information about numbering ordinances and resolutions. In the past, we've always just put the ordinance in with the resolution, and the numbering was whatever that ordinance fell after that resolution. After doing some research and looking through some things, really the best way to order your ordinances is to start them at 0, just like you started the resolutions. So I don't want y'all to think that I double numbered when you see 2801 and the resolution is 2018-R-01. But going forward, we will have the ordinance to follow 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead of having them to fall behind whatever resolution they fall behind. So we did want to let you all know about that change going forward for the numbering system for the ordinances and resolutions.
And since we have a few minutes before regular council, are there any comments on the items we discussed tonight from the public before we go into regular session? There will still be a session for public comments before we vote, or if you'd like to wait to that time, but you're welcome during this time we have left. We did have a recommendation from council that we would rescind the resolution and redo that we follow the ordinance procedure for doing that to get a full vote count. Okay. Yes, ma'am, please.
I have a question, Frazier. 541 Conway Lane. Why is it so important to come up with a date right now when we already missed that date because we didn't have time? Is there some reason that we're rushing to put a date on it? Or is there
You
some?
mean on the special election?
Yeah, I'm sorry, special election.
The reason that we have to put a date on it because it will take about 60 days to go through the process of the election with all of the proper notifications and everything that's part of the election. Then you got another week after that where you have to certify the election. Then we have to get this information down to the tax assessor's office or they can get it into their system by May 31st so that the city can start receiving money if adopted October of 2018.
But you haven't heard from the public. I mean, you haven't engaged the public yet, so how do you know that date will not be a date that's not?
We had an extensive discussion back in September of last year about it.
So are we through discussing it with the public?
Again, Ms. Frazier, that's the reason for the vote. The public, that's the bottom line on that is they will have their opinion at the poll and it will be available to everybody in the city that wants to have input by either casting their vote one way or the other.
So we're not setting dates then?
No,
We're setting a date for the election. If we're going to get this done this year,
Oh, okay.
that date is probably the, what we will call it, the deadfall.
Yeah, by law, you can only have a special election on the second or fourth Thursday of the month.
Oh, okay.
So you're pretty much locked in.
Okay.
So you only have April, and then you don't want to have it in May because you got to get the information down to Jefferson County. So that's why
Okay.
we thought about March being a good date because just in case if something happened, we still got the month of April to get things ironed out, to be able to get it down to Jefferson County to get everything assessed and in the system for the city to start receiving funding in October of 2018.
Oh, okay.
Second and fourth Tuesday.
Okay, what did I say, Thursday? Okay.
Okay, I knew that you
Thank
know.
you.
Okay,
So-
thank you. I got it.
Did you give her an anticipated date of the election? I didn't hear that.
March 27th.
March 27th.
Any other additional comments in this session? If not, I would ask for a motion to close this session.
Make a motion.
Do it. Oh,
Would it,
would you please identify yourself?
it's Matthew Goodman, 5222 Paramount,
Thank you.
Garden. Would it benefit y'all if, we tried to get word out to come to that meeting and, like, are we trying to generate a lot of public conversation around this?
We would like to. There will be a town hall meeting coming up before the election, which will give everybody in the city an opportunity. Postings available, notifications, so everybody should be well aware of it. But at that point, yes, any way to spread the word through homeowner associations, neighborhood associations, whatever's out there, yes. We want people to come and vote. It's your decision.
For the, that Monday meeting, so try to get people to come so they can voice their opinion about how to use the tax credit.
Well, again, trying to look at the comprehensive plan, see what's identified there, where the money could be best used. There are several areas that stand out in every conversation. One is our streets and paving, and at some point, we've got to address that more aggressively. And I don't know if that will come to the top, but it's definitely a need that everybody in the city seems to want. And then we need to look at some of the park issues related to both Ruffner and what we're going to do long-term with soccer, dog park, et cetera.
Just a quick comment. We haven't discussed it.
Yeah,
We haven't gotten together to discuss anything about the possibility of the passage of this particular item. The council have not had any discussions as far as what we would consider, getting from the public. So just make that clear.
and let me make a comment there. Council work session is for the council to discuss a ordinance or a resolution. It's not necessarily for the people to come like we do tonight where you can come and speak. Now, if the chair of the council will allow it, he may allow some to come before the council speak, but it's not a given in a council work session like it is with a council meeting. It's just for the council to discuss the situation, not necessarily the public is welcome to come and sit in on the meeting, but they're not necessarily, we're not necessarily obligated to allow the public to speak at those meetings.
Okay. That Monday meeting is,
A week from today.
all right, yes.
Thank you. Again,
I think we have a motion on the floor.
there is a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
You got 1 minute.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we have 1 minute, so don't leave the room if you want to stay